Hey guys, it's Angie Atkinson, and today at queenbeing.com we're going to talk about um, narcissists and self punishment. I'm going to answer a question from one of my SPAN members. All right, so let's get started. Okay, so like I said, one of my SPAN members wonders, she asked a question. She said, have you seen narcissists do this weird thing like self punishment? So basically, what she asked me initially was, have you ever researched the link between narcissism and self punishment? And has anyone ever experienced self punishment in narcissists and their behavior during a relationship? All right, well, my initial response to her was, hey, you know what? Yeah, I've seen this behavior and I've seen it especially in regard to narcissistic injury. Okay. Well, her reply was that it had happened in her case every time the narcissist had been injured. And by the way, that his parents had also been abusive to him physically when he had done anything wrong. And so she thought maybe there was a link there as well. And she says her narcissist did this instead of hoovering. Instead of sucking her back in with hoovering, which is, you know, this is kind of a form of hoovering as well. Let me just side note this. Basically, what hoovering is sometimes the narcissist will love bomb to suck you back in, but sometimes they will create drama to suck you back in, and I think that's what her narcissist is doing. I think this is his form of hoovering. Okay, but anyway, she says it's his way of making things right, and she says maybe it's also his way of discarding her on some level. I agree. Like an excuse for emotional distance and not taking responsibility for anything, and in the end, feeling like a victim. Of course it is, my friend. So it's definitely a narcissistic injury thing, and so on and so forth. So, but yeah, it's totally confusing to you when you're in the middle of it, of course. And have you been there? Because I have, and so has this particular SPAN member. So we're going to talk about that today, and we're going to kind of go into it. So here's the deal, okay? First off, we have to remember how a narcissist is created in the first place, right? So it starts in childhood, all right? So, in some cases, as we know, kids are overindulged and placed on a very high pedestal by their well meaning parents who are so concerned about maintaining a kid's self esteem that they actually end up causing a bad case of NPD. Now, in my case, my narcissist was raised by a mother who was never supposed to have a child, and she ended up having one anyway, despite the fact that it ended up putting her in a wheelchair. Okay, well, she loved him so desperately, and she became very sick as he got older, and he ended up staying there and taking care of her. And there were lots of really strange attachment issues between the two, but what it all came down to was that she had placed him on this weird codependent pedestal, and that turned him into sort of a covert narcissist. All right, well, anyway, so that's the one example of that. But in other cases, kids are neglected or even abused by their parents, and over controlled, they got the helicopter parents who were not just the healthy kind. Right? And that's pretty much the other side of the coin, the other way that parents can create a narcissist. Right? So with that being said, in the case of the narcissist that my SPAN member wrote about, she said that he had been beaten by his parents. So when he had been beaten by his parents, when he made mistakes as a kid, now he feels the need to acknowledge his bad self behaviors and sort of, cleanse himself of the wrongdoing through the self punishment. Maybe he feels like he's paying his dues, so to speak, but the question is this a narcissistic behavior, or is it something that might be a comorbid condition? Obviously either one is possible, right? So, however, again, I want to point out here that I'm not a medical professional and I am a life coach, so I don't diagnose anyone. Okay. But in regard to narcissism and NPD, is it possible that self punishment is part of the deal? Well, yeah, it's very possible that it's all part of the deal and its various complications. That's part of narcissistic personality disorder. Okay. So let's talk about that. See, the narcissist's fragile self image is built on the idea that other people have thoughts about him or her and what those thoughts are. Okay, so when the narcissist inflicts self punishment, he sort of feels relieved of his overwhelming anxiety or her overwhelming anxiety, and in some cases feels more powerful as an individual. Okay, see, this way, the narcissist punishes himself or herself before he allows anyone else to do it, or she allows anyone else to do it, and then if anyone should try to add to the punishment, like say, oh, you hurt my feelings, Mr. Narcissist or Miss Narcissist, then the narcissist instantly goes, but I've already been paying my dues by doing this and this and this, so you're just causing further narcissistic injury to me. Of course, they don't use those words, but that's essentially what they mean, and then they punish you or the person who tries to bring it up to them that they've been hurt for even bringing it up in the first place because, I already feel bad enough. I'm sure you've all heard that, something like that before. Anyway, like I said, a lot of narcissists don't like to be treated, they don't like to be criticized. We all know this. And if you do criticize them, they will inevitably make you feel so guilty for doing it that you just want to stop criticizing them altogether. And you might actually do that. And then sometimes, because you're a human being, sometimes little things will slip out. Why are you so rude to me? Why can't you be nice to me? Et cetera, et cetera. And then, of course, again, the narcissist is going to punish you by, oh, I'm so hard on myself already. Why, how can you dare be hard on me? La, la, la. And then you feel bad and you end up apologizing and begging them to forgive you and please continue to be mean to you because, gosh, you really like it after all, which you obviously don't, and you probably really wouldn't say it like that. But essentially, what you do is excuse their behavior without even realizing it. And then they realize that they can continue to walk all over you. And that's how we train a narcissist to treat us like crap, basically. Anyway, coming back around to the other side, the thing is that although, because it goes back to childhood and to various rituals that the narcissist went through growing up, that's just basically why they'll do it. And when it was time to pay for their mistakes, this is what would happen. So the thing is that although the narcissist can apparently, in some cases, feel something that seems like guilt to you, he or she can't figure out exactly why because they don't know themselves and they've never tried to know that part of themselves. And as such, they will turn on the person who's causing them to feel that way. So if that person is you, my friend, watch out. Okay. Now, he or she will start to feel as though an injustice has been committed against them and will react as such. So, like, just imagine if a normal person, let's say, was accused of cheating on a test, all right, and didn't do it. A normal person would, I didn't cheat on that test. Here's proof that I didn't cheat on that test, whatever, whatever. Well, a narcissist will have cheated on the test and still react as though they hadn't and react in that injured way, if that makes any sense at all. Anyway, so the parents who raise the narcissist will show him or her that unconditional love doesn't exist, okay, which is not healthy, as we all know. Now, interestingly enough, if you're an empath, you may have also experienced parents who showed you that unconditional love didn't exist, and I'll get to why in a minute. The thing is, the narcissist was raised to see that, in most cases, that the only way to get love would be, especially in the cases of the neglectful and the abusive parents, the only way to get love would be to fulfill certain requirements or wishes of the parents, right? So if the kid didn't make it happen, whatever the parents thought should happen, like if they thought he should be the football star or she should be the head cheerleader, or they should be the valedictorian of their class or whatever, and the kid couldn't make it happen, well, the parents sort of reject him or her, kind of like a little mini discard phase, okay? So, and since a kid doesn't understand why that happens, the kid will either turn inward or outward, okay, with their emotions from that point. And this happens in varying degrees and on varying levels. So I'm going to talk about that. Now, if the child is an empath or becomes an empath, there's a question as to whether the empath comes first or the narcissist. But if the child becomes an empath, he or she will turn any negativity inward, any rage, any upset inward, and sort of absorb it in a way that becomes unhealthy, okay, and into him or herself, and start to see him or herself as some sort of failure as a result of that. Now, whereas a child who becomes a narcissist is going to be more likely to turn that rage outward and teach people around him or her that they deserve to be punished for this behavior, okay, and this habit becomes one that they will carry well into adulthood, right? So it's no good. Now, on a similar level, empaths are more likely to develop when the children of unavailable narcissists direct their natural love outward, their love that they normally feel outward toward others, the love that they can't give to their parents because their parents are unavailable to them, okay? And then they become codependent, or they can. And a narcissist will develop when the child of the same parents would turn that love that they would normally give to their parents inward, okay? And you would think that's a really good thing for them to direct their love toward themselves, and in some cases it is, but in some cases it forms an unfortunate narcissist who is emotionally crippled, so to speak. And interestingly enough, while the narcissist is likely to turn criticisms outward toward other people, an empath is more likely to turn those same criticisms inward toward him or herself. So the point is that what happens, the difference is that when you've got two children of the same narcissist who's unavailable to them emotionally, okay, you've got the narcissist and you've got the empath. Sometimes you'll get one of each, sometimes you'll get two of one, okay, but and oftentimes the child that is treated as the golden child in that group of two would be the narcissist, and the child who's treated as the scapegoat child is often the empath, and that's maybe why they develop the way they do, or maybe it just happens that they fall that way because that's how it happens. You can't, unfortunately, I don't know the answer. I don't know if the egg came first or the chicken came first, but I just know this is what comes out of it, you know. So, with all of that being said, you know, you can sort of see why so many empaths sort of end up with so many narcissists. I mean, we're often like two sides of the same freaking toxic coin. You know what I'm saying? The narcissist then, after all of this happens, basically will self destruct as the empath tries to hold him or her up. It's an ongoing battle. It's like he's pulling himself down, you're pulling him up. It's a whole thing. Interestingly enough, on the flip side of that, it's like he's holding you down, and you're as you try to pull him up. So it kind of keeps you both in this, I want to say, a limbo space almost, but it's not even that. It's just a place of misery, especially for you. The narcissist, I think, really enjoys this stuff. I think it's kind of their, you know, their thing. So, what are some of the ways that narcissists will use self punishment as a manipulation tactic? Well, physical punishment sometimes. Sometimes they punish themselves physically. I've seen cutting. I've seen people who punch themselves in the arm and they end up giving themselves bruises, leg punching, leg cutting, hair pulling. I mean, I've seen a ridiculous amount of physical punishments from people I've heard about and people I've spoken to and so on and so forth. And the thing is, physical punishments, they're less common for narcissists for obvious reasons, but there are those who, especially the ones who are blatantly self-hating, who tend to do those physical punishments. Or, some of them, like one woman who is an ex-wife of a former client, apparently was holding a knife up to her own throat when he wouldn't stay with her, and then she was banging her head against the glass door in their home in order to get him to, in order to manipulate him in some way. I'm sorry, I'm having some allergies today. It's crazy. Anyway, all right. The other types of punishment, though, that are more common and in some ways far more damaging to both the narcissist and the people around him or her are those that are more psychological or even financial. Okay, for example, a narcissist might intentionally stop eating or neglect himself in other physical ways, like might not shower, might not, shave, whatever, himself or herself. Now, he or she might also do something like blow an opportunity. Maybe they have an opportunity for a big promotion and they just don't show up to work for the next week without calling. Or, maybe they have an opportunity for a new job and, I don't deserve this. And so they just blow the interview or they ignore the resume request or whatever. So they'll self-sabotage is what I'm saying. And sometimes they'll just talk really bad about themselves. And in my opinion, that's really about compliment seeking and other forms of narcissistic supply, right? But to them, it's all about self-sacrifice, and that's what it appears to be, is self-sacrifice. And if you ask me, it's all about indirectly punishing the narcissistic supply for making them feel bad about themselves, basically. And the narcissistic supply, unfortunately, woo, sorry, I had a little tickle there. Anyway, the narcissistic supply, unfortunately, will feel incredibly guilty because the narcissist is punishing himself and almost always indirectly or directly blames the supply for the self-punishment and treats the narcissistic supply like the person who's causing that to them. So in some cases, the narcissist might even separate himself or herself from the supply as a form of self-punishment, right? Supposedly. They'll say things like, oh, I don't deserve you, you're too good for me, indicating that their mistake rendered them not worthy of you, rendered them worthless. Of course, the truth is that the narcissist doesn't think that you're worth much anyway, as far as in comparison to him or herself. They see themselves as someone who is, in most cases, whether they admit it to you or not, someone who is more important than you. Okay, and their moods are more important than your moods, and their needs are more important than your needs, and gosh darn it, you better keep an eye on that stuff, right? But the truth is, they are indicating that they want the supply back. This is just an attempt to get the supply, you, to relent and beg him or her to come back and resume as normal. And sometimes it's a good excuse to do things. Here's the other side of that coin. It's a good excuse to do things that a normal or healthy partner would avoid, such as things that are unhealthy for him or herself in the relationship. So like going out and cheating on you, or going out and, riding a motorcycle down the mountain without any training, for example. I don't know, I'm just making stuff up. But anyway, you see what I'm saying. So how should you react to these self-punishment behaviors? What is the right way to behave when a narcissist is self-punishing in order to manipulate you? All right. Well, let's talk about that. I think, and you can take this however you want it. I think you have to gray rock, and I think you have to mean it. I mean, take it real seriously. Don't give them anything. Don't give them any reaction. Don't give them anything. The only time that you should take action is if the narcissist is causing physical injury to him or herself, or to you, or to another person. In which case, you need to get a spine of steel, my friend, and call the cops. Okay? The police, pardon me. Because otherwise, you know, if there is no physical injury happening, then stick to the cool, calm, gray rock method. Don't give them any reaction at all. At least don't give them the reaction they want. Keep yourself busy and don't give up the things you love during this time. Stay focused on what you can control and not what you can't. If you're really, really bold, you might even tell the narcissist something like, hey, and again, before I say this, let me just clarify, this is only in the case that you are not being physically abused, okay? But in that case, you might say something to the narcissist like, hey, let me know when you're ready to talk to me again, or ready to be an adult again, or whatever. Until then, I'll be here doing what I do, you know, if you need to. I mean, quite honestly, if you are forced to talk with a narcissist and deal with a narcissist, then you just have to learn to not allow their little manipulations to affect you. So anyway, I'm going to wrap it up for today, and I'm going to ask you, what do you think? Share your thoughts and your ideas and your experiences in the comments below, and let's talk about it. All right? Okay. Now listen. If you need more information about this or any other topic relating to narcissistic abuse recovery, or NPD, or narcissism, check out queenbeing.com. It's my website. It is packed full of 10 years worth of content, including almost everything you could possibly want to know regarding narcissists and recovering from a relationship with one, and even dealing with them while you're still stuck in the relationship. All right. And you might also check out narcissismsupportcoach.com, where I have a free 5-day email course that's designed especially for narcissistic abuse survivors. And then I've also got books, angiewrote.com, for if you want to check out any of the 20-something books I've written. Okay. One more thing, if you're really interested in just talking with me personally and having one-on-one coaching, check out narcissismsupportcoach.com. Nope, that's not it. That's the one I just said. Let me try that again. narcissisticabuserecovery.online. Okay. Oh, and if you'd rather talk to a person to schedule the appointment instead of dealing with an automated system, you can get with my assistant Haley at haleyhelpforyou@gmail.com. All right. Questions, comments, concerns, things you want to talk about, leave them in the comments. Please don't forget to subscribe, because in the next day or so I'll be announcing a very exciting new program that you can join for free with me to increase your recovery and make your life a lot better. All right? Increase the speed, and also just make yourself feel better in general. All right? Okay. Let's talk soon. As always, thank you for being a part of my life and a part of my day, and thank you for letting me be a part of your life and a part of your recovery. It all means the world to me. Thank you. I'll see you soon. Have a great day.